to WDJY FM 99.1 for airing our show. And for all those of you listening to our show here in Atlanta, and that includes you, Matt and Brandy Lane, I appreciate you giving me the message, wishing me a very, very good show. I appreciate it. Turn up the volume in your gym at Anytime Fitness in Roswell, Georgia. Let everybody hear our show. We have another, Matt and Brandy, we have a really, really great show for you here today. All right, I'm going to jump in. I want to introduce my very special guest. Everyone, this is my dear friend and guest, Kim Schaper. Kim, welcome to Health Matters.
Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here. I can't stop smiling.
Yes,
Thank you.
Well, it's great to have you here. You know, Kim, you have an amazing reputation here in the metropolitan area, and I'm sure that in the years to come, it'll be throughout the country. So I'm glad I stole you now. You can say when you're rich and famous, so to speak, and everybody knows you in the fitness industry, that my friend Nelson helped give me a start here in the Atlanta area by getting me out to the world.
Absolutely.
So, yes. And we're growing very, very quickly, as you know. We're on Instagram, we're on YouTube, we're on United Intentions, we're on Twitter, Higher Intention, and every other major social media platform. So we're getting out to the world more and more and more. I want to speak to you about something very specifically. I want to talk about the elephant in the room, Kim. You're a very courageous woman, and you have a lot of experience and a very committed heart. You've helped a lot of people in our community. And what I really want to talk to you about is I want to talk to you about eating disorders. And you're the perfect person because I don't know any other woman who has your courage in this issue. So I hope you don't mind. I'm going to put you on the spot here. Your story is so powerful and so compelling. I never get tired of hearing it. And it inspires me every single time I either hear you talk about it when I watch any of your videos or I look at your pictures. So tell us a little bit, if you would, about your background, and then talk to us about, because you've done both extremes here. You're a woman who can say officially you've covered end to end here. Mm-hmm. You've suffered from anorexia and bulimia, and now you're living a magnificent life, happy, healthy, and thriving.
Yeah.
Tell us what happened. Well, how did this all begin?
Gosh, thank you so much for that introduction. You're going to make me cry. That was so sweet.
Well,
thank you for that.
I feel very strongly about it.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
So my name is Kim Schaper, and I just feel honored to be here. So thank you again, Dr. Blamash.
You're welcome.
I'll give a bit of my history because I feel like a lot of people can really resonate with my story. One of the biggest things that I do now is I really help empower women to feel more confident, to feel better about themselves, and realize that it's not just about their body, that they can actually live a very happy and fulfilling life without going to extremes. And so I want to take you a little bit on the back end of that,
right?
Because I feel like that's important to talk about too, because you have professionals that can easily shoot from the hip on with textbooks and so on and so forth. However, when you live the experience, I really feel like you can get on such a deep level with people where you really understand and resonate what they're going through. So let me elaborate on that.
Perfect.
So I have to give a quick shout out to my family because without them, I would not be here today. So I'm so honored that they provided me with treatment and rehabilitation and all the needs necessary to be able to be here. Right. So I will start quickly with a backstory. So when I was in high school, I was an athlete. I was very active on the soccer and cross country and track and all those sort of things. Very active. I come from a very active family. My father was a world-class athlete. My mom was a bodybuilder. My sister dabbles in exercise here and there. We kind of laugh about that. So again, that was very common for me to grow up in that household.
Right.
And so in high school, I was fine. I did not have any issues with food. I was a very normal eater, and I loved to exercise in moderation. And, believe it or not, it was not until I went away to college, and after my freshman year in college, I gained the traditional freshman 15.
15, right?
And so I came home and I decided to have a trainer. And I thought, okay, you know what? I'm going to get in great shape. They're going to teach me the proper way. And I'm really going to dive in and feel better when I go back to school. So I met with this trainer, and I'm not going to mention any names because he really put a damper on where my life kind of unfolded from there. So no judgment or blame. It was just, it really catapulted after I started training with him that I started using eating and diets as a control mechanism and as a way of coping with life.
Right.
So he put me on a very strict plan. He's adamant, you can only have, 5 foods. You can only have protein like chicken or dried chicken or fish, or you can only have steamed broccoli, and you can only have flaxseed, and you can only have sweet potatoes. And that was it. So prior to that, I kind of ate whatever. And so now I was on this plan of these 5 foods with this trainer who was in amazing shape. And I thought he knew the right way.
Sure.
So I dove into that and I got in incredible shape. I felt the best that I had. I was at 19 at the time, and I thought, wow, you know what? This is amazing. Like, being this fit, I feel incredible.
Right.
So I went back to college, and just so you know, like the eating disorder went hand in hand with abusive relationships. So it was a real codependent type relationship, if you will. So I went back to school and I got into a pretty bad relationship, just physically, emotionally abusive. And I really started to take that 5 food diet and whittle it down to the point where I used it as a total obsession. And that was my go-to. So anytime I felt stressed, anytime I felt insecure, anytime I had feelings of low self-esteem or self-worth, I would go back to the diet and be super hardcore about that. And then I would be over obsessive with my exercise. I remember I would be on the college campus running for hours and hours and hours off nothing, off maybe a half a banana. And I couldn't understand why I felt like I was going to pass out. And, I was living off Crystal Light, and it was a mess. And so my parents ended up pulling me out of school. And by this point, I was probably maybe 90 pounds. And on average, I weigh about maybe 125, 135. Right. And I have a good bit of muscle on me. So for me, that was very small. And so they pulled me out of school. And they said, we're going to get you treatment ASAP. We have to, get this figured out. So I went into treatment. I met with a therapist. And I started to lose more weight. I think there's a lot of deep-seated anger. And again, it was a whole control mechanism, like kind of middle finger, I'm going to do what I'm going to do. You're not going to tell me what to do. So I got down to 75 pounds. I remember my mother saying, Kim, I would come up and check on you, and I wouldn't know if you were dead or alive. And it was such a freeing experience for me. And now it's just crazy to even say it, but I knew I was starving if it was so debilitating to walk up the stairs. So right. There's stairs at my parents' house is maybe 15 stairs. And if I couldn't get to the top without feeling like I was going to pass out, then I knew I had accomplished not eating for the day. Wow. So it was a total high. I would live off artificial crab meat and lettuce, and I would cry every night. I would never forget the back of my brain was on fire all the time. And I don't know what that's about. Maybe you know, since you're a doctor, but wow. The back of my brain always felt like it was burning. And I really don't know what that was, but very high anxiety, very restless, very emotionally unstable, just because I was starving. Right. And so I went in and out of treatment centers. They put me in a treatment center in Atlanta called Ridgeview. And I was in that treatment center. I ended up regaining the weight. However, mentally, it did nothing for me. So
you never shifted gears after you gained the weight?
I did not, no.
Yeah.
And so this is a huge issue, very problematic, especially for people who do not have enough income to be able to provide adequate treatment. Because here's what happens. So if someone goes into treatment for an eating disorder, let's talk about anorexia, for instance. Let's say they're 30 pounds underweight, okay? So they go into treatment, they regain the weight because you go through the whole refeeding process. Then insurance is like, okay, wipe my hands clean, you're done, you're out, you're just a number, you regain the weight, move on.
Yeah, you go back into the world.
Exactly. Yeah. So insurance max is maybe a month coverage, which is very, very sad, especially with eating disorders. And it's a highest rate for deaths out of any mental illness. So again, very, very problematic. So I was very fortunate that my parents were able to afford to put me in, 7 different treatment centers. Wow. And yeah, so again, I got out of treatment. I had regained the weight, but mentally I was no different. And Another thing too, and I know a lot of women can resonate with this, is when you are going through the refeeding process, there are so many emotions, so many things that come up, because when you are starving or when you are binging and purging, and I'll get to that in just a second, you suppress so many emotions. And so when you're going through that refeeding process, which I remember distinctively, there were so many emotions coming up, because when you're starving, you don't know and you don't think about anything else other than food. And so once you start eating again, your brain starts to function, and then you think, oh my gosh, what's going on? You know, I'm eating again, and my life is out of control,
Right.
and it's very, very, very hard. So again, went into, so I regained the weight again. Yep. And I ended up actually going through a period of time where I went the whole other extreme. So I ended up becoming obese for my size. So I ended up to be 185 pounds. And the crazy thing is psychologically, eating disorders totally mess with your head, because what ended up happening was, even though I was overweight and the heaviest I'd ever been,
Right.
I was petrified of feeling hungry. So anytime if I felt any inkling of hunger, even if I had just finished a large meal, I felt that I had to eat again, because I never wanted to go back to feeling starving. And
Sure.
so that was a huge thing. So I had gained all of that weight, and I was very depressed. And this was, again, 4 or 5 times in and out of treatment. So then after that, I picked up the behavior of binging and purging. So I thought, okay, well, I can eat all this and then I can throw it up. And so I started down that trail. And then from there, I was like, okay, I'm going to start losing weight again. So I lost weight. I did fitness competitions. I did competitive cycling. I did triathlons, and all of that was all external. Like at the end of the day, I was still not happy within myself.
Sure.
I was still trying to fulfill a void with just a very low self-esteem, very low sense of self-worth. And so I was so fixated on trying to have, quote unquote, like the perfect body, or to be as lean as I could. And it just manifested in so many different ways. And so now today, I've been, sober from my eating disorder for probably 6 to 7 years now.
Great. Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
And there's so many facets to it, and it's a very fine line. And I think as you're more in recovery, and the more you're able to focus on other passions and use your brain in other ways rather than obsessing, I can't tell you what a sense of mental freedom that is, to be able to relinquish some of that control and say, okay, you know what? Life is pretty amazing, and look at what all's around me. And it's amazing when you start to relinquish the control, you let go of the addiction, because an eating disorder is an addiction too. And
Right, sure.
we have
Absolutely.
to have food to survive.
Well, let's look into that a little
Yeah.
bit, Kim. So help me understand certain things. And I know you can only speak for yourself, although you can refer to the experience you have with the many women that you've helped through this. And by the way, I want to be clear. I know you're not a clinical psychologist, and I'm not expecting you to give the opinion of a trained clinical psychologist, yet you've worked with many of these people. So that I will offer your opinion for. So when somebody has an addiction like this, what exactly goes through the mind? What went through your mind when you were trying to use food to control? What were you trying to control when you did that?
That's actually a really good question. I truly believe I was trying to control other areas of my life that felt completely out of control. So let me give you an example.
Okay.
So at the time, I felt like it was much easier to focus on that extra 5 pounds that I thought I had on my butt than it was to have a hard conversation with my boyfriend at the time. I truly
Interesting.
believe that, again, when you are so fixated on the food, or trying to have the perfect meal, or trying to have the perfect body, you are in a sense neglecting and minimizing all the other things going on. And I feel like it's a way to suppress your emotions. Because let's be honest, if you have an eating disorder, nothing else matters. You have no relationships, you have
Right. It
no
all falls apart.
hormones, you have no sex drive, you have none of that, right?
Interesting.
So
what are you really controlling?
100, right. And
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the thing is, we think we're so in control of it, but it is completely out of control.
Yeah.
It is because you are so obsessed with every little morsel that goes in your mouth, with every little thing. I mean, it is like 90% of your brain is so fixated on this, and it is just exhausting.
And help me understand this at an even deeper level. So why food rather than alcohol, sex, drugs? What's the appeal with controlling food specifically? Is it something maybe that's more socially acceptable? Maybe it's easier to control in society, like.
Yeah, another
in other
great
words,
question.
Yeah, because I mean, clearly, if you're on heroin, if you're drunk on alcohol, it's going to visibly, outwardly change the way you appear in the world. However, you can look and act and speak. You can speak coherently, and people might not know that what you're controlling is really ultimately going to result in your demise.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's a very destructive, slippery slope that. A friend was just telling me that there was somebody in her gym when she found out the show I was doing tonight who said, I'm so happy you're doing that. I'm so happy you're having Kim on. She has such a great reputation, and I'm actually going through mourning because we had someone in our gym who was anorexic who died recently.
Wow.
So,
wow.
It's so destructive. And once again, I'm not qualified to understand the mind of somebody who has anorexia or bulimia, but I'm so happy you're here to give us insights, which you have already. So, let me ask you this. So you're living a very good life right now. You're beautiful. You're very articulate. You still do great workouts. When I talk to you, you seem to be much happier. You're thriving. I'm correct?
Absolutely, yes.
Fist bump to that.
Yeah, fist pump. Yeah, double fist pump. Boom,
Bingo, boom.
Okay.
Very, 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 very happy to hear that, Kim,
Thank
because
you.
you're an amazing person. I want you
you.
around for a long time. Not just because I'm selfish and I like you, but because the world needs you. And your family, of course, wants you to be around a long time. So go to all your friends, your clients, and your family. So let's talk about some of the strategies. How do you help these women? Because you, of all people, you train a lot of women in particular. I mean, I know you train men. Let's kind of focus more on women. Is that fair that and I don't know the statistics, but is it fair that this seems to be a problem, at least with you and the people you work with, it's more female-based than male-based?
Oh, 100%.
Okay.
And there is a stigma because there are a lot of men that struggle with it too, where you might look at them and think, wow, they're in amazing shape. They're beefed up. They have all this muscle. And yet they're struggling too. They don't want to admit it, or it's taboo, or it's, it's unacceptable, or it's not as accepted as, or socially accepted as someone, as a female that struggles
Right.
with her weight. And I just wanted to piggyback real quick off something you said. And when you asked why food rather than drugs or
Sure.
alcohol or so on and so forth. Here's the thing, is that I truly believe when you start down this path, you get praised in so many ways. You get so much validation.
Right.
Where you're going in the gym and when you're just starting this out, people are like, oh my God, you look so good. How are you getting that way? How do you get
Sure.
so fit? And then you'll be in the gym crushing it and people are coming up to you and saying, how are you able to work out for 5 hours? Like, you just look amazing. What are you eating? And so then again, if your self-esteem is already low and you don't have a solid foundation of yourself, you are absolutely going to thrive off that. And then it's just like someone that's addicted to, let's say sugar, for instance, where, again, the comment might start and it's a piece of cake, for instance, for someone that's addicted to sugar. And they say, oh, wow, I like that piece. I want that. I'm going to hold on to that. And then before you know it, they want the whole cake because the one comment wasn't enough. And then they constantly need that reassurance, that affirmation that they are worthy. And we focus solely on the body versus internally, who is that person?
Right.
And if I can say, I say this all the time, there's two things I say. Number one is, you cannot hate yourself into getting fit or lean, period. You can't.
Very, very good point.
You can't.
Very good point.
Because I know specifically there's some women I know that are just shredded and look amazing, yet they are super depressed. They have a lot of insecurities. Again, fine, no judgment there, but it's, if you look at the exterior and think, wow, they must have it all.
Yeah,
But
no.
a lot of times they don't.
Right.
And so there's such a persona with that. And then also, I can say, when you're on your deathbed, people aren't going to go, gosh, Nelson, I'll never forget. He had a killer six-pack and his
Yes.
quads were on fire. Versus,
Yeah.
you know what? Nelson was a really good person. He helped a ton of people.
Yeah.
He lived out his passion. So those things really kind of stuck with me. So
Very, very good point. And I can tell you, having an illness that could have killed me, you don't think about those things. And I did, by the way, have shredded abs once upon a
I
time.
know you did. I know you did.
It's been a little while, Kim. I won't lie.
I still see it. Yeah.
But what's interesting is when you are in your deathbed, and I can speak to this, not that I was necessarily on my death, but I was very, very ill with cancer years ago, and you think about the people you love more than anything. I used to go through scenarios: who was going to take care of my wife? Who would take care of my kids? My patients. Who would fill that void if I died? So Kim, I want to know some of your strategies.
Yeah.
You're so good. I hear so many women, once again, in particular, and I don't mean to overemphasize that. I hope
No,
you don't mind.
that's true.
But I hear so many women talk your praises about how you engage them in a way that results in them getting kind of perspective, a reality on let's eat to thrive, to feel happy, to have a hormonal balance that works. So you produce neurotransmitters, you produce hormones, you actually have a period and this kind of thing. Because you're right. You and I have been in the fitness industry for a long, long time, and most of these really high-level fitness women in particular, I haven't spoken to any men who've said this, but I'm sure it's there as well. And if you diet too much, you get too lean, you're going to have trouble producing hormones just like women do. But it seems to be very, very apparent in women who get ultra lean. Some of the gymnasts, some of the ballet dancers I've met, some of the fitness in particular competitors. In private, they'll often let me know, look, Nelson, I don't have a period. I can't sleep anymore.
Yep.
I feel awful. Well, of course you do, because you have to have a certain amount of fat, right? For all kinds of processes in the body, not just for energy and insulation. But, for example, fat produces estrogen. So if you're a woman, one of the sources of estrogen will be fat. Ovaries, of course, another. But what do you do to help these women who are in that place? They look fabulous. They're living off of that. They're deeply afraid to change that. How do you go forth with helping them? What kind of strategies do you use to regain their perspective, their reality on who they are, what they look like, and how to live a more effective life?
Such a great question. And to be honest, I really do it. I make it very customized because all of my clients are completely different. So I have some that were former CrossFit athletes. I have some that are Ironman athletes. I have some that are just getting off the couch and starting to exercise for the first time.
Sure.
So I have a bit of a plethora of clients. I have binge eating clients. I have clients who are recovering from eating disorders. So it's really fine tuned to the client. And that's what I really am proud of, that I don't have some cookie cutter crap that I just throw out.
Yeah, very, very important. Good.
Yeah. So, first things first, if someone is coming off a restrictive mindset, someone that's been dieting for a long period of time, they're afraid of food. They're afraid if they start eating again that they're going to blow up and they're going to gain 80 pounds in a week. Okay. So we know that's not the case. However, I think it starts first with baby steps. And one of the biggest things I preach about is, instead of trying to take on 20 things at one time, where, okay, let's get you on a workout plan. Let's get you making sure you're eating right. Let's do all these things. People get so overwhelmed with so much stuff. So I start with one thing. I'm like, okay, I love goal setting. Okay, what's one thing we can do between now and when we talk on the phone again in 2 weeks, or when we meet in person again? And it's, again, so different for everybody,
Right.
but it could very easily be where, okay, let's just try and add a little more avocado to your salad, or let's try and eliminate not eating an entire pizza, maybe just have one slice with a salad, or, let's have you walk for 20 minutes a day versus being completely sedentary.
Yeah,
So I always start with one thing. I think that's so important, and having those goals. And another thing is you really have to ask the client, like, what is your why? If you do not know why you want to change or implement new behaviors, nothing's going to happen.
Sure, there's no drive, no motivation.
There's no drive.
Yeah.
And so, it does become problematic when you do have clients who really don't have a drive to change. They enjoy being in that restrictive mindset. They enjoy being super lean. And until you're able to get them on the other side a little bit, where they're actually feeling happy, they're feeling emotion, where they're not so flat. Because I also notice women too that are very engaged in their eating behaviors. It's either all or nothing. It's either I am happy because I'm lean, or I'm super depressed because I'm down or I binged. There's no
happy place.
There's no sprinkle of emotions.
Yeah.
It's either happy or sad. But happy, I think, is fake, and because it's all external based.
Right.
Versus when you're in a healthy place, it's like, okay, I feel joy, I feel sadness, I feel resentment, I feel anger, whatever. You have that mix of emotion.
Right.
And also too, when you start regulating your hormones again, what a world of a difference.
Yeah, night and day.
Night and day. And so that's why I hate, like, Instagram and Facebook, where they have Fits Pro, where they have these women with these super shredded abs. I get it. I was once there too. But no one talks on the back end what that's about. No one talks about when you peel back that curtain. And I can say, because I'm on the back end of it, women don't say, you know what, I'm absolutely miserable. I find myself binging on the weekends because I'm
Right.
starving.
You're starving.
I don't have my period.
Yeah.
I'm a mess. You know, my life is chaotic.
Yeah,
So
and if you don't have the calories, you don't have the energy, you don't stay warm. I remember, funny now, my base weight is about 250 pounds. I used to do something similar without even knowing it. I used to compete at 165 pounds, which is laughable. At this weight, I mean, that's almost 100 pounds less than I currently am. And so I used to have to, live off of salad and protein. And yes, that was very, very exciting. And it led me to a very unhappy place.
Right.
I mean, really unhappy. I
It's
was
so
absolutely,
true, right?
I was absolutely miserable.
And that's the thing. People think, oh, well, once I lose 10 pounds or only if I was here,
Right.
only if. I'm like, no, you can't start it like that. You can't, if you don't become accepting of where you are now, you are not going to be any happier.
No.
10 pounds smaller, anything
It's
along
an
those
absolute
lines.
illusion.
So it really is.
Absolutely.
So that I guess, again, just circling back really quick with the strategies and stuff, starting small goal setting, implementing a few things at a time, really having like deep conversations with the people where you are literally like, all right, lay it on the table, tell me what's going on. I honestly love it when my women cry or when they get emotional because I know we're tapping in a deeper
Yeah,
level.
you're actually interfacing with it.
For sure.
You're looking at it. You're finally being able to peer into the mirror and say, "Whoa, this is what's so." I really want to commend you because anyone who has a lot of experience, and I didn't have this many years ago. I do now. Now I've been in this for the better part of 30 years. But I love that you said the magic word, which is you basically change one key variable. Because what happens when people are really out of touch with reality or are really in an entanglement, emotionally, spiritually, excuse me, they can't handle more than, to them it's like multivariable calculus, like let me do this, this, and this, and this. So when I have patients come in and they're in the place similar, my perspective is, I look at them and I say the same thing you did. What one thing can we change?
Right.
And I let them pick it. I do that very intentionally because they're going to choose something that they think they have some leverage with.
Absolutely.
And so it's so important to look at them and to say, what one thing can you change favorably so that when I see you, and I'm a little different, Kim, I go every week with them because I know how easy it is for them to fail.
For sure.
When you're trapped in that snare, it's an unsafe, unforgiving place, and it's so easy to fall off the cliff, so to speak. So I love that you brought that to the attention of the listeners, and I think that's so key. What single point are you willing to favorably change in your diet or your lifestyle? And for some people, okay, doctor, I'll drink water. Okay, what does that mean?
Yeah,
I'll
be
have one
specific.
glass of 8 ounces. Now, I mean, when you and I talk about drinking water, I'm sure you drink quite a bit of spring water every day, or filtered water at least, not tap water. And I have people who literally don't drink water. How do you live and not drink water?
But that's all they know.
That's
right?
all they know. That's their reality, exactly.
But I love it that you ask them to be so specific because it teaches them. It's easy to say, all right, I want to lose 10 pounds, or all right, I just want to get over this. Okay, well, what does that look like? Like, what are the action steps to actually get there?
Right.
Tell me about it. Let's be specific. And one thing, too, is that some of my clients, it's easy to overshoot, especially in the honeymoon period when you start something new and you're like, yes, I've got this.
Sure.
I'll do whatever it takes. I don't
Yes.
care. And so I say, okay, well, what can we do exercise-wise? All right, I'm going to do 6 days a week for an hour. I'm like, no. Nope. Let's scale it. So I even scale it back where they will probably overachieve it. And then in turn, I notice that builds more resilience because they say, wow, I actually could do that. Okay.
Yeah.
And honestly, Nelson, I think one of the biggest pieces in all this is that sometimes, and I feel like I'm going to get emotional about it.
Go right ahead.
Sometimes people just want to feel heard. They
Yes.
just want to feel that someone cares.
Once again,
and that
brilliant.
someone
Yes.
loves
Yes.
them, and they want to feel heard.
Yes.
And I feel like sometimes I just sit back and I just let them vomit from the mouth with everything
Right.
going on, you
Yeah.
know? And it's, you owe that to them. You really do.
Yeah. Well, we're going to come back and we're going to talk about this. We're going to pick this up in a second. I'm Dr. Nelson Bulmesh. My wonderful guest today is Kim Schaper. We're talking about eating issues and challenges. We'll be back after a word from our sponsors.
The number of premature infants born in the United States each year, 380,000. That's 9.8% of the total births in the U.S. The Foundation for Premature Infants' mission is to advocate for the right of all premature infants to be cared for in a developmentally supportive and age-appropriate manner. Our vision is to ensure that Premature Infants' Bill of Rights is the standard of care for all babies born prematurely 24 hours per day, 365 days per year on all shifts in every neonatal intensive care unit throughout the world. Please consider making a donation by visiting us on Facebook, Foundation for Premature Infants, or at our website, foundationforprematureinfants.org.
Thank you. Once again, this is Dr. Nelson Bulmash. You're listening to Health Matters, and my guest today is Kim Schaper. We're talking about the challenges with eating disorders, particularly in the fitness industry. So I want to pick this up again because you have so many great points, Kim. It's always so much fun to be with you. One of the things that I want to talk to you about is I think a lot of people do these kinds of things, develop addictions, and once again, I'm no authority, but this is something I've observed. It's in some cases it can be one of the only things they can control. Mm-hmm. What do I do to my body? What do I put in my body? And I so often say to my patients, my friends, my family, we should have a day where it's an acknowledgement day. You just walk around and acknowledge what you like or love about somebody else, because I think everybody is screaming for acknowledgement.
Yeah, absolutely.
We're so afraid to, you know what, Kim, you look fabulous. You know what, Kim, thank you for saying that. It changed my life. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I mean, what would the world be like if we acknowledged, with kindness, of course.
Absolutely.
Kindness, like, hey, thank you for that. What you just said allowed me to shift the gears of my system so I can get access to an upper hand now for this problem. Thank you. You'd have a whole different world to live in.
Yeah, and also, I mean, it's such a great point. And one thing I love, too, is I love empowering other people. I think it's very easy to, gossip and put other women down and make them feel like crap. And so I love it when someone is carrying themselves well, or there's a female that's worked very hard, or
Sure.
someone's smiling, or it looks like maybe they're having a bad day. One little word or one little phrase can really make or break someone. So if someone is trying or someone needs a little, help, I'll smile, or I'll say, gosh, you know what, you're working so hard. You look amazing. And
absolutely.
People appreciate that.
Yeah, and I want you to think about something. So let's shift gears here a little bit. Let's talk about being overweight, because this is the United States, and we're, I think, the most overweight, or among the top 2 or 3 most overweight populaces in the world.
It's crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy, right? That's one of the things that happens, unfortunately, with abundance. It's hard to control it. So sometimes I go in a gym and people are bad-mouthing somebody who's obese, and I think they're the perfect person to be in here. What's the matter with you?
Absolutely.
Yeah, salute.
It makes me so mad. I get so mad.
Right, to anybody who has the courage, because let's not kid, for a lot of people, it's terrifying to go into a gym.
Yes.
And, you're a fitness expert. I've been around a long time. I can go in a gym. I know how to use the equipment. I know what I'm doing. I can assemble something on a given day that's logical, that makes sense to help me to get the goal I want. You can as well. We can help other people do that. But most people, it's an expense that they might not be able to afford. It's another stress. How do I go about picking somebody? How do I know which gym is right for me? Some gyms are terrifying. Some gyms are more user-friendly to beginners than non-beginners. So talk a little bit, like you're somebody who does a lot of this kind of work. What do you do with a person who comes in, they cry on your shoulder, Kim, I'm 100 pounds overweight, which isn't uncommon. Or they're 40 or 50.
Question.
Yeah, but what do you do with them? How do you help them help themselves to intelligently design a program that allows them to meet their goals over time?
I love this question. Thank you for asking that.
You're so welcome.
Again, it goes back to the client and what exactly they need, and if they have health issues or they have injuries or what have you. I honestly, if someone is, 75, 100 pounds overweight, I will ask them just to try and move around, just to move.
I like it.
Whether it doesn't have to be where they have to go out and walk consistently, but something where they are maybe doing laundry or any sort of daily movement that requires energy expenditure. And then I notice too, when I have a client that has been in a state of depression or they are overweight, they're feeling very insecure and very depressed. And you and I both know once they start moving a little bit, they start having, endorphins release.
Right.
They start building a little more confidence, and the other areas of their life starts to fall
Sure.
into place. And so one thing I love is, again, just some proper daily movement, and then slowly working their way up to some walks and then some body weight exercises. And I do a ton of videos, so I'm very particular about form and making sure that's on point. I actually have a lady, a one-on-one client now, and she's been doing fantastic. And she hated going to the gym because she was so insecure. And so I said, here's what I want you to do. One of your goals, I would love for you to overcome that fear and pick up a pair of dumbbells and watch my videos that I put up, grab a little corner, and then just go to town in that little corner. And so now she does it like 2 or 3 times a week. She's like, I've got this. And I love it.
That is so fantastic, Kim, because that little corner is going to be a place of security for them.
For sure.
You know, it's going to be like their little blankie.
It is.
There, I'm safe in this corner.
Yeah.
This is my little domain. I can control which corner it is, and nobody gets to see my imperfections.
And the thing is, we get so worried that everybody is looking at us, but everybody else is obsessed with themselves.
Yes,
they're
of
not even
course.
paying attention.
Not at all.
So I honestly love going in there and like throwing bows, elbows out to the side and being like, excuse me, guys, you can leave that weight on there. Let's add a little bit more. And I
There
love
you
it
go.
when my females do that. They'll take pictures and they'll say, yeah, I was up with the guys today. I'm like, yes, that is what I'm talking about.
It's so funny you bring that up. As you know, I trained my daughter, who's a former 3-time world champion lifter.
Amazing.
And Kim, it used to be so hilarious when we go to another gym because she is a gorgeous, humble, beautiful human being.
She's beautiful. I saw a picture. I was like, wow.
And she's even, I'm going to say as her father, she's even more beautiful inside than outside. And that's saying a lot. But she was so powerful. She'd go to do incline dumbbell bench presses. And, she'd start out with probably 30-ish pounds. And she could work up to 70-pound dumbbells for reps at 120, 25 pounds. And it's so funny because all of a sudden the men went from, you probably shouldn't be in this area of the gym my daughter would say, no, I'm fine. I don't need your spot. I've got my dad. He's my coach. I'm good.
Right.
To, oh my God, you're lifting 70-pound dumbbells for sets of 8 to 10 reps.
I love it.
I think I'm going to leave the gym immediately. And I'm sorry. To me, it's very sexy, so to speak, if you'll allow me a little liberty with the expression, to see a woman who's not only intelligent, but who's like really in control.
Yes.
Who's fit, who's intelligent, and she can handle herself.
Yes. And if I can piggyback off that too, I love strength training and I love surrounding myself with women who are strength trainers.
Right.
There's something to be said for just feeling so strong.
Right.
Like even as an endurance athlete growing up, it doesn't matter how much I ran, but like there's something about weightlifting that brings a whole new level of confidence.
Well,
and I love it when my females are like, yes, I'm feeling stronger, and they get a little booty and they're feeling amazing.
A little feisty.
Yeah,
yes.
I love it. So I'd love strength training.
Is that something that you routinely use with these women eventually?
Absolutely, yes. When they get to a point where, again, making sure their form's on point and it's a good progression for them, we do start incorporating some weights. Yep.
Well, what an amazing thing, because think about this for a second. If this is an issue of control, meaning I can control what I put in my body, most other things in the world I might not be able to control, now all of a sudden you're focusing externally, and let me pick up maybe 2 to 5 pound weights initially, and then work up to 30-pound dumbbells.
Yes.
I mean, that's just really like, check it out. I just did a set of bench presses with, 30 or 40-pound dumbbells.
Right.
And that's really amazing.
It really
is. Great. It brings you back to your sense of power.
It really does. And seeing that progression is so empowering. And I can speak again from experience that I actually just got my body fat tested. I was just curious. They had like a free thing at the gym, and it's 22%, and that's the highest it's ever been for me. And so I usually was around 13, 14 for the longest time. And I can tell you now, I'm so much stronger now.
Right.
My hormones are regulated. I feel so much better. And have I gained some weight? Yes. But am I so much happier? Oh my gosh, yes. So it doesn't, that's why I hate getting so caught up in the scale or, how much you weigh. I love the strength training piece because so many women get so caught up in how lean can I get, how much cardio can I do, and it absolutely annihilates their hormones.
Right.
It sets them in overdrive. Their cortisol's out of control versus let's get you strong. Let's get you sexy. Let's change your body composition.
I love it.
And,
I love it.
You know, and
I'm going to listen to this interview several times before I go to bed.
Yeah. But
No,
it's true.
it's so
so
true.
true. Yeah.
You know, and it's funny. I'm the same way. I mean, I was always that guy when I was younger who was really, really shredded. I used to take a lot of pride that I'd go out to a bar or something and somebody would lift up my shirt and they'd take their finger up to the second digit and between my abdominal blocks.
Yeah.
And people would just go, wow.
But did you feel like crap at
Yeah,
that time?
well, I mean,
or not really? You were young, right?
I was young and I was silly and I made stories of what that meant.
Of course.
You know how we go.
Yes,
we go
you
sideways.
go through that phase.
Yeah,
yes.
exactly. But the truth is, look, you and I have spoken about this a number of occasions. I love to go out with friends and family and eat healthy food in reasonable amounts. I don't worry about calories, Kim.
Right.
I eat healthy food. You know, the basis of my diet is vegetable, and then I eat a good amount of protein. I train very hard. I'm very active all day long. I crave protein like some people crave sweets. I don't pay attention to it. I'm healthy. My blood results are good. I feel amazing. I feel like I'm at the best time of my life, which is so interesting because I felt the absolute opposite, as you stated earlier, when I was really shredded. I didn't feel good at all.
Yes,
It's
I
like,
know.
I think I look pretty, but I sure don't feel pretty.
Well, prime example, if you look at some of the bodybuilders on stage, people think, oh my gosh, they're in amazing shape. And I'm
Right.
like, actually, like, no, they're in the worst phase of their life right now. They're dehydrated. They've been starving themselves. You know, they're not in the best shape right now. You know, so it's, again, that whole persona.
And so interesting that some of the world famous bodybuilders have absolutely, literally killed themselves by going on diuretics to make their skin look so tight it's ready to tear when they pose. And
crazy.
they die of a heart attack the day of, the day after, the day before their shows.
Yep.
I mean, the last years, I think half a dozen really, really well-known bodybuilders have all died of heart attacks.
Yeah, and even there's a guy around the corner, right? There's some shop around the corner where a man died. He was a big bodybuilder. I forgot his name, but
It happens frequently. I mean, if you're really, I remember several months ago, there were two really well-known bodybuilders, and they died within 24 hours of each other. And in almost every case, it's a heart attack. So looks good isn't necessarily probably the best thing for you. Somewhere in the middle, there's probably a happy median.
absolutely right. I'm all about the middle.
Yeah,
I love
me too.
Yep.
Middle path.
Middle path. Yes, yes.
So I want to hear about some of your successes. Tell me about some of the great. I have so many women who brag about you.
Aw.
I want you to give a moment, take center stage. Tell me. And I'm sorry, I'm putting in the spot, Kim, and I apologize.
It's okay.
I'll give you a moment. I'll talk, and you nod your head when you're ready.
Let me think. Yeah.
But you know, here's what I mean by that. Let me clarify, because to you, a great success might be different to me. To me, a great success is to take, and I'm going to take a woman because you just, what would you say, 80, 90% of your people are women?
Yeah.
Is that fair? Okay.
Yep.
So let's take maybe a middle-aged woman who comes in. She's beat up from life. She could be a professional mom who's doing her very, very best to be an amazing employee. She could be a CEO. Doesn't make any difference. She's working hard in the workforce. She's trying to rear kids and trying to have a life herself. And she comes in and she looks at you. No shine in those eyes. The head is dipped. She's lacking confidence. She's lost herself. Where do you go? Tell me about some of those success stories. I know you got a million of those.
Yeah, it's a great question. Again, your questions are on point today. Okay, so you know, I'm trying to think. I don't have anyone specific at the top of my mind right this moment because if you're referring to someone that is just beat up and drained and exhausted, I do have a lot of moms in my online coaching group that just they are stressed to the max. They've depleted their systems. They are taking on 50 different hats at one time. So a lot of them come in just totally beat up, exhausted, no energy. And again, it goes back to, I think, this whole mindset of women feeling like they have to do more and more and more. And it's like, no, you don't have to.
Yeah.
You can do a good workout and then you can go for a walk and like reduce your cortisol. You don't have to go out and crush another workout when you're already stressed to the max. One thing I think about is women who I know that have started working with me and their shoulders were rounded, their head was down. And they had no confidence. And then before you know it, they're standing taller, they're keeping their shoulders back.
Yes.
And sure, their physical body changes. I just love so much the mental change of just the confidence factor. I have clients that have lost significant amount of weight, and it's just I've had I have such a variety. it would be silly of me to just name one thing.
No, and that's okay, because really you're hitting it. Where I was going with this is there's tremendous joy, there's tremendous satisfaction, Kim, when you can get to the other side where you're not destroyed, you're not humiliated, you're not humbled by the ravages that life has on you if you don't find suitable ways to help manage your life.
100%.
Right?
Yes.
And so really kind of where I was going with that is I know you've helped a lot of women do just what you said. My shoulders are back, my head is up, my eyes are directed forward at the world. I'm more confident in the world. And that doesn't mean that life is perfect. It isn't.
No.
And life will never, this is one of those myths. Life, folks, will never be perfect.
Right.
There's always, gosh, I got a flat tire yesterday.
Yeah.
Shoot, my water cooler went out. My air conditioner went out and it's 100 degrees in Georgia. It was always something like that. So, what I'm referring to, and I didn't mean to put you on the spot there. I apologize for that.
No.
But that you have so many women that I have seen over the years that I've met who they're happy again. They have more moments of happiness.
Yes.
And more moments of, look at me, my shoulders are back, my head's up in the world, and I'm in more control and I'm more happy and satisfied than the day I walked in to your place.
Well, and not only that, but the biggest piece is they feel more confident and happy when they are not obsessing and they're not doing this diet crap where it's so all or nothing, where they're on the train or off the train or this or that, where they are able to live a balanced life. Of course, okay, so balanced is all relative, right? Sometimes we're super stressed out in other areas, but if they can stay within those confines of living somewhat balanced, it just takes a pressure off of trying to be so extreme. And who, honestly, I guess I'll use myself as an example. I would much rather stay the same weight for a long period of time rather than being up and down all the time. Yo.
It's terrible because it's a metaphor for your life,
It
Kim.
really is.
Yeah.
But if you can get stable, I would much rather have a stable weight and feel stronger and better. And I can guarantee a lot of my women would too, rather than, again, obsessing, because we know too that anytime there's a restriction, there's always a binge behind that.
Right.
And it creates this whole vicious cycle. So,
And we'll get back to that in a second. I will say this, the only time I ride in roller coasters anymore is if I'm going to a movie or a theme park.
Oh, there you go.
No more of that, folks. We'll be right back. You're listening to Health Matters. I'm Dr. Nelson Bulmash. Join me when we come back with my guest, Kim Schaper.
DRS provides professional audio mixing and mastering services. They also provide other creative services such as voiceover editing, audio restoration, and audio forensics. They have great customer service, their work is fast and efficient, and their prices are affordable. You can learn more about their creative services by visiting them on the web at drsatl.com. Again, that's drsatl.com, or call them at 404-590-0779. Again, that's 404-590-0779. DRS, when the right sound matters.
Welcome back. It's Dr. Nelson Bulmash. You're listening to Health Matters, and I'm talking to my guest, Kim Schaper, today. We're focusing primarily on health and fitness, but specifically in and around eating disorders or eating health challenges. Kim, let's jump right back into it.
You got it.
Here, we have somebody bringing us our water. Sorry about that. We're a little dehydrated. Thank you so much. Sorry, folks. Didn't get that in on that short break, but I appreciate it. Got to be hydrated here. First step, hydration. So tell me, what kind of things are you working on right now? You're always working on something new. Where are you headed personally?
Gosh, that's a good question. I have a bunch of stuff going on. I
know
love
you
it.
do.
I'm like you. I'm like ADD all over the place.
Yeah. That's okay because there are always good places that you go to.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Right. So first and foremost, I have I've pretty much transferred all of my in-home clients and one-on-one in-person clients to online. I have a few in-person clients still that I've had for quite some period of time, but the majority of my business, I would say 95%, is all online. So I have an amazing group of women. I've cultivated probably about 100 100 women in a closed Facebook group, and I provide monthly workouts, nutrition tips. The community's insane, just super positive. I won't put up with any crap. And I not, you know what I mean? Like,
No, I
mean,
go team.
Yeah, okay.
No,
That
no
maybe didn't
room
sound
for,
right, but
no, it sounded perfectly.
if someone's mean, I don't put
Yeah,
up with it.
no.
Okay.
One wrong person, one bad person for a group can destroy the continuity of the group.
Yeah,
I'm
really.
all about it. I like it.
Yeah, so they have a membership site and they do all the workouts and stuff, and that's super fun. They'll do like post-workout selfies for accountability, and then
I love it.
Yeah, and then
You're so creative. I love that.
well, I've gotten some help from some other people too.
Sure.
Yeah, and so then I do one-on-one coaching clients. So those are customized. So I completely customize what they need based on where they're at, and I create customized workouts and all that sort of thing. And then what else am I doing? Gosh, oh my gosh, I feel like I'm drawing a blank. What else? I'm always trying to create new stuff.
Well, you're an obsessive learner, and I mean that as a compliment.
No, I love to learn. I love it.
I don't think I meant,
No,
she's going to have to go to a 12, not that there's anything wrong with 12-step groups, but I'm not suggesting that you
No, I got it. I got it.
Yeah.
Oh, I know. I'm doing this event called Elevate 18.
Okay.
There's some other women in the online fitness industry who I just love. And my business mentor, Jill Coleman, she is hosting Elevate 18 out in Venice Beach. And so we're all speaking there, all about body positivity and that sort of thing. And then I'm doing a few retreats with a good friend of mine in the fitness industry. And I just kind of have my hands in a bunch of, YouTube. I'm getting really big in YouTube.
Yes, you
love
are.
video.
Yes,
so
yes.
YouTube's my next thing.
Yeah, you are one of the queens of video. I'm so excited.
love video.
And
Yeah.
I hope you'll come back and join us.
Yes.
And share with us some of the things you've learned from your retreats and from the big event in Venice.
Mm-hmm.
That would be fantastic.
You got it.
All right, so let's jump back in here. So do you ever get in a situation where you have somebody come in and you know you can help them and you just can't seem to get a leverage point with them? You can't seem to find an angle in to get them to see the world in a way that would allow you to start progressing them forward?
I have, yes, and that's another really good question. I'll be totally transparent. Those are some of the clients that if we don't see eye to eye or they're not willing to try or make a change, I fire them, or I just tell them, hey, you know what, if you're not willing to put in the work or at least try, I can't help you. You have to be willing. I know you want me to, but you have to be willing to help yourself. And then also sometimes it just takes a little bit of time. So a little bit of poking, but not being mean by any means, but just
being lovingly firm.
Exactly.
Yeah,
right.
I get
and
it.
And then also, I mean, I don't have all the answers, so I refer a lot out if I don't know the answer, or for all that kind of stuff. So sometimes if there's a hidden link or a missing link with blood work or hormone testing or thyroid, that sort of thing, a lot of times that makes them very tired and unmotivated. So I'll refer them out, get their blood work tested, and then sometimes that's a hidden link of, oh, you know what, she had a lot of gut issues or she had a lot of hormone imbalances. And then once that kind of gets switched, then the motivation factor picks up a little bit. So
fantastic. So that's really great to hear. So in other words, if you think there may be a metabolic issue as an example, or perhaps a psychological issue, you send them out for some kind of professional evaluation that then helps you further help them.
Absolutely. And if I have a client that, is very underweight, or I know, because I can weed through them, I know
I'm
right
sure you
away.
can.
So
Yes.
if someone tries to BS me, I'm like, no,
Not
I
happening on
know
this
what's
day.
up. I know
Yeah,
what's up. So
yeah.
I'll refer them out to someone that, specializes in eating disorder recovery, as like a nutritionist and treatment centers and so on. I'm like, listen, until you get to a certain weight, I'm not going to be able to help you. So.
Got it.
Does that
Very,
make
very
sense?
good.
Did I answer your question?
It was
Okay.
perfect. Absolutely perfect. I want to ask you, what is your typical person? So you have somebody who finds you, and by the way, do not let you will not leave this room without sharing with the world how they can contact you. Promise?
Okay. I promise,
All right.
yes.
Very, very good. So somebody contacts you. What is the initial point with them? How does that happen? How does that work?
Right. So usually they will find me by word of mouth or on my website, or Facebook, Instagram, any type of social media platform. And then I always love doing a 15-minute phone consult just to get a feel for where they're at and what their goals are and so forth. And then if it's a good fit, I love either having them in my coaching group or one-on-one coaching, depending on their budget and what they're looking for. And then we kind of take it from there. And then, again, I customize it if needed, or if they want just a camaraderie of the group, we go that route. And I know I've said this a million times, but there's really no set formula. I just go by what I feel and how I resonate with the client and get exactly what they need.
Well, you have a tremendous amount of experience. And one of the things I noticed, even being a doctor, it's interesting. When you first are taught how to become a doctor, it's you do A, B, C, D, E, F. Well, you don't necessarily do that when you're, 20, 30 years out. It's like, oh, your throat hurts? Well, let's take a look and swab it and da-da-da-da-da, for example. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So your intuition is based on many, many years of great experience.
Yeah, I feel like I have a pretty good gift for intuition. I feel like I can read people pretty well. And I think just being around for a bit and understanding the different dynamics of the body and not just based on personal training. Like I try and stay up to date with latest research and stuff. So again, that's when I love to refer out if I don't know the answer, or if I don't know the answer, I'll find out for you because I really care.
Yeah, so. No, I know you're dogged about doing your research. So is there a particular age group that you tend to have as your niche, or do you work with kids and middle-aged and elderly folks as well?
Sure, another great question. So my range is typically, I would say, between like 25 and 55, and mainly female. So I would say 95% female. I have a few men that I coach one-on-one, and they are moms. A lot of them are stay-at-home moms, or moms that maybe are even teachers or have young kids that really need a reset, that really need to feel confident in their skin again. They want to feel alive. They feel like they've lost a sense of themselves. They're ready just for a recharge. So I would say between 25, 55. I would ideally say 35 to 55 is kind of my range.
Your range.
And yeah, mainly females and women who struggle with body image issues, women who, again, need that reset, women who are just ready for a change and that what they're doing is no longer working. And they've hit a plateau and they're like, okay, well, being on the elliptical 6 days a week isn't cutting it. My body isn't changing. And, let's be honest, we can't. I'm almost 39. I can't do what I did at 39 that I could at 25. Our hormones change. We have to adapt based on exercise and stress management and so on. So we can't go out and crush it like we used to. So,
no, but that being said, you can still get in great workouts.
Absolutely, you can. 100%.
So and thank you for saying that. It always guiles me a little bit when I go in and I see the same people on the elliptical or on the stair climb or something, doing a 60 to 90 minute workout every day, no weights, no yoga, like every day the same thing. And I guess you're not an advocate, is what I'm hearing about that.
No, I'm not at all.
No. And I'm trying to keep a straight face. And I'm not trying to diss anybody. Look, forgive me, folks. If you're
I see time and time again, my females that have had the most progress and the biggest body changes, it's all come from changing up their food, strength training, followed by walks and restorative exercise, stress management. So those tend to work very well. The ones that are cardio junkies that constantly get in that rut over and over again, your body's not going to change.
No, and you will break your body down very badly.
100%.
Doing years of that. Final thoughts, any last words?
I just want people to know that they're already amazing. Like people, in general, males, females, you're already enough. You don't have to change or diet down or be a certain size or a certain weight to be enough. You already are enough. And if you are looking to change and you are ready for a change in just an overall health and well-being, I encourage you to look within the inside and work your way out. And if you choose to be active, amazing. And just know, again, that you cannot hate yourself into getting lean or fit. You have to have both. And that last thing, you can absolutely be fit and obsession free. That's my thing.
I love it. I love you. I love you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Kim.
Yes.
It's such a pleasure. Folks, thank you for joining us for another edition somebody pointed something out. Another edition of Health Matters. Kim, let them know how they can get a hold of you, and then I want to address who's coming in for my next show.
Yeah, absolutely. So you can find me anywhere. At my website is www.kimschaper.com. I'm also on Kim Schaper Fitness, Facebook, on Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube. So you can find me any of those.
You were fantastic. It was a pleasure having you. I hope you'll
so
join
much.
me again. You're very welcome.
100%. Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So everybody knows, I'm having the legendary Jeff Mott come in, 18-time World Wrestling Champion, in 2 weeks. Put it on your calendar, folks. Catch me on all the major social media platforms or on WGJY FM 99.1. Dr. Nelson Bulmash signing out. Thank you again.
Thank you for joining us on this edition of Health Matters with Dr. Nelson Bulmash, where we help